The most toxic phrase in worship leading isn't about music. It's this: just do what I say. When leaders lead with just do what I say, they might get short-term compliance, but long-term, they just create burnout, resentment, a culture where absolutely nobody learns. And here's the scary part. You can be a great musician and still be a terrible leader if this phrase is driving your ministry. So let's be real. We've all heard it. Maybe we've even said it. A vocalist doesn't know the harmony. Your lyrics operator doesn't time transitions the way that you have requested over and over. Your sound tech doesn't mix the way you'd like. And instead of explaining why we do something, we just snap back with, just do it my way. That phrase might feel efficient in the moment, but it kills your culture. Why, might you ask? Because it shuts down the curiosity in your team. It replaces teamwork with just top-down control. It teaches your people one thing: obedience matters more than your understanding. And, in the church where discipleship is supposed to be the goal, obedience without understanding just does the exact opposite. It's not discipleship, it's dictatorship. So let's talk about the fallout of this phrase in a worship context. First, it just creates fear, not freedom for people, right? Volunteers stop trying new ideas because they're afraid of being wrong in the end. You get a team that wants to be told what to do instead of stepping up. Second, it kills ownership. If your guitarist feels like their only job is to follow orders, they will never feel responsible for the sound of your team, right? Ownership is replaced with just passivity. So third, I'll say it stops growth. A sound tech doesn't learn why gain structure matters. So the next week, they make the same mistake. A vocalist doesn't understand why blend matters, so they keep overpowering others. People can't grow in what they don't understand. You see, here's the brutal truth. If your team isn't growing, it's usually not their fault, it's yours. Because there is a better way, and it starts with 5 words. Here's why we do this. You see, leaders who explain the why, they create a culture of learning and ownership. And we all know learning cultures ultimately lead to healthier teams. I'm going to give you some examples. Like, for example, don't say something like, don't play that fill. Maybe try, here's why we don't fill there. It steps on the vocal line. Leave that space so that the lyrics can cut through. Or instead of turn the snare down, say, here's why we lower it. The brightness of the snare can make the vocals feel buried. We want people to hear the words clearly. Another example would be, instead of you're too loud, say, here's why balance matters in this context. Worship isn't about showing off, it's about serving the room. You see, when people understand the why, they don't just obey, they own it, right? They remember it. The next time, they don't need you to tell them again. So how do you shift your team's culture from do what I say to a culture of ownership? Here's 3 quick steps I want to walk through. First, slow down to teach. Rehearsals are not just about nailing songs. They're about developing our teams, right? Take the extra 30 seconds to explain the principle behind the correction. This is where our free team night guide would be a massive tool for you in your ministry, right? A healthy, engaged team isn't built on Sunday mornings alone. It's formed in the moments between, when relationships are strengthened, vision is casted, right? People are reminded why they serve. We'll link the team night guide below. It's free, low risk. Second, and this one is very short, but it's very important. Encourage questions in your team. Make it a safe place for your team to ask the why behind what you're doing. If they're afraid to ask, they will never grow, simply put. You can actually check out our ministry feedback guide for help with this. The link is also in the notes below. And third, we put this last because if you don't do this, none of the other stuff matters. You have to model this yourself. Don't just explain musical-wise, explain ministry-wise, right? Why do we pray before rehearsal? Why do we rehearse dynamics? Why do we dim the lights, right? When we model it, they will multiply it. You see, culture doesn't just change by accident. right? That's the theme here. It changes by the language and the words we choose as leaders. Those words will ultimately create disciples or just like free employees. So here's the challenge this week. Catch yourself. Pay attention to the moments where you're tempted to say, just do it. And instead, replace it with, here's why we do this. It's a very small shift, right? But it will transform your team, I gotta tell you. Over time, you will see more ownership, more growth, and way less frustration in your people. Because at the end of the day, worship leading isn't just about playing songs. We know this, right? It's about building and developing people. And when your people grow, your church will grow. Watch and see, right? And if you want to take this a step further, you maybe need some tools to take some of these steps further. We've created a bunch of resources for you at MxU. First, a team night guide to help you build community and create opportunities to explain the why behind what you do, right? Second, I mentioned it earlier, the ministry feedback guide to give your team a voice. It equips you to gather meaningful input across the team for greater leadership and clarity, right? It's filled with examples like both scaled and open-ended that are going to help your volunteers feel heard and honestly, your leadership get sharper. So check it out. All the links are in the description below. It's free. As always, you got nothing to lose with these resources. Man, if this video is helpful to you, hit like, subscribe for more practical tools like this. We're coming out with new videos every week, and ultimately, just liking and subscribing helps us grow this channel to reach other churches just like you. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you next time.